Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you this morning to the Research Park and University of Illinois AgTech Summit for 2018. I'm Laura Frericks. I'm the director of the Research Park, and I'm thrilled to have so many talented individuals in the room representing large industry, startup companies, faculty, and students from the University of Illinois, all excited about how we can transform agriculture with new technologies and help feed the world. Today, I'd like to begin by welcoming you specifically to this research park because it's become a place where we're really excited about the growth and trajectory of AgTech. And with that, I thought I would tell you a little bit more of what's taking place here. It's important to maybe recognize that there are many people that make this possible, and thank you to everybody that's in the room that has contributed to this vibrant tech community here in the Research Park. We are so grateful for all the company partners, all the faculty and students that make this place possible. So with all of that, we've been able to achieve record growth in the last 2 years with increased building because of our partners at Fox Atkins Development. We now have more than 790,000 square feet of space and nearly 98% occupancy sustained in the Research Park, with new growth continuing to accommodate the new companies. We had about an 18% growth of employees last year, with 2,000 employees or more working in the Research Park at a given time, including many students. And we're seeing many companies growing, in particular in this sector. So here are some of the companies that are now part of our Research Park community that impact agriculture across a wide continuum. We welcomed some companies that I'd like to point out specifically, but this includes everywhere from the seed industry and plant breeding through major equipment manufacturers to commodities trading to supply chain that is impacted by the work of many people in this room that are thinking about new technologies that can be applied. So some of the new companies that we welcomed include one that was brand new just a couple of weeks ago with our grand opening and welcome of Monsanto and Climate Corporation to the Research Park. We had a great crew from the university representing the full top brass of enthusiasm about this success for us to welcome their new innovation center, working on genomics, plant science, and breeding technologies for its future. And this joins, again, more companies that we've been welcoming. Another recent grand opening includes AGCO, and we're happy to have them here today as well. AGCO being one of the largest agriculture companies in terms of equipment and livestock facilities, specifically GSI Group, located in Assumption, Illinois, made a decision to open this new acceleration center to help look at new facilities that will serve, and as an example, the pork industry, also the poultry industry, and use sensors and IoT to revolutionize how some of these facilities are even envisioned, and think about students working on projects as technology forward, as virtual reality that will help in the adoption of their products. We welcomed last year at this event an announcement of Syngenta's digital lab, and that continues to grow with an innovation lab that's collaborating with NCSA, our renowned supercomputing center on campus. And this team grows also with user experience and thinking about storytelling in new ways and integration of engineers, communications, and fine and applied arts, all in one place, trying to impact what the future of Syngenta will be as a global company. We're thrilled to still have John Deere growing and vibrant and iterating its work here in the park as they think about new technologies for connected farm solutions. Mark Moran, in a leadership role along with Julian Sanchez, have been profiled by the company as one of their success areas of the growth of new product adoption, such as mobile technologies and the development of specific mobile apps such as Grain Truck Plus and Mower Plus, and work on robotics that takes place here. And so we're excited that this continues to be a place where they're at the forefront of one of the leading companies. Another company that's a great example of how big industry can work with small industry to make an impact together includes AB InBev, the world's largest beer company, and also the world's largest buyer of barley. And they're able to improve their supply chain with working through Agrable, a company that they were able to partner with and publicize their integration in supply chain to make more efficient growing conditions across the globe as they source barley for their products and use AgriBowl to help them think about better farming practices and better supply chain practices for their company. Lastly, and I'll say we'll be hearing from Granular over lunch today in a fireside chat. I'll put them as a growth of a startup success story that now makes this transition into a larger industry sector with the acquisition announcement by DuPont. We announced Granular joining the Research Park just about 2 years ago, and the growth has been tremendous as one of the fastest growing sectors of the Research Park, but also from an employment standpoint, they've been attracting the best and brightest. So launching startups is very important to us, and many of them will be speaking today about what they see for the future and what's being enabled by the investors in the room and partners like some of the ones I just mentioned. And we do that at Enterprise Works. We had a great reception last night. We're so grateful so many of you showed up to be able to interact with our startup community and help guide them as they think about the future and customers and opportunities. We have a robust pipeline of entrepreneurship programs that help support that, and one that we're happy to be able to recognize today will be the second year of the Edwin Moore Prize, which will help a new AgTech company to continue to develop new product. So some of our startup successes include one I just mentioned. AgriBowl will be speaking today, our own homegrown company that went on to raise significant funding in the last year, working on a B round of funding that included local investors, including Anderson Grain Company, Sarah Ventures, and Midwest Capital, such as Flyover Capital, and partnership with industry on a continued basis with ADM as a strategic investor as well. They continue to receive recognition as one of the top AgTech companies. And that joins this list along with another precision agriculture company, Intelinare, that will be speaking today, that continues to grow in the incubator with both West Coast composition and Champaign, leveraging faculty expertise from the university and helping farmers make more decisions that are impacted by the types of data that they have and machine learning technologies. They were named as one of the 7 AgTech startups to watch in 2008 by agriculture.com. EarthSense will be recognized at lunch, so I won't say a lot about them, and they'll be in a panel as well. But if you haven't been to their lab, come check out 3D printing on a massive scale, creating robots. It's the kind of thing that I think can make a student population really excited about what's changing in agriculture, and we've been delighted to get to see this company grow in the last year. Another company that's at the cutting edge is Life Foundry, which emerged out of the Institute for Genomic Biology at the university, using again, robotics in a new way. And they're partnering with companies in the fermentation business to look at new bugs that can impact the bioprocessing industry. They're also working on new DNA assembly, CRISPR technologies, and they have a whole Life Foundry set up within the incubator. So another great tour, an opportunity to see really dramatic cutting-edge technology that's taking place because of this campus. There are many other startups that are emerging, some that we can share more about maybe next year. And so thank you for being a part of this community, and thank you for helping us celebrate all the many opportunities that exist across the industry. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome the head of research for the College of ACES, or Agriculture, here at the university, which is a wide college that includes many areas of groundbreaking technologies, consumer interface, and economics. And Germán Bollero had been the head of crop sciences and now has been promoted into leading research across this powerhouse at our land-grant institution. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some perspective from the university. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm used to talk for 50 minutes at a time, so, but I'm gonna be brief because of time. I want to keep you in schedule. And all of you are sitting way behind there, so I can barely see you because of the light. But like in my class, no one sits in the front row. But we'll still have a quiz after this anyway. So. But it is with great enthusiasm that I welcome to this event. I think this event shows the partnership in between public and private desire of advancing research that fuel the economic development of our community. And this 21st century economy thrives on innovation that feels, fuel and sustain our communities. Our Illinois world-class research institution, the College of ACES, among them, represents a significant competitive advantage in this scenario. So our basic research and the translation of that basic research is a fundamental driver of innovation and economic development that improves not only our understanding of the world around us, but also our quality of life and economic prosperity. And it serves the foundation for new technologies and products that you've seen Laura introducing before me. Research for us, and especially in the College of ACES, remains the most essential source of knowledge for farmers and companies that they need in order to innovate. Agricultural development depends to a great extent on how successfully knowledge is generated and applied. And I think that's what we do really well in our heart as a land-grant institution and a land-grant college like the College of ACES. The investments in knowledge, especially in the form of science and technology, have featured prominently and consistently in most strategies to promote sustainable and equitable agricultural development. Our challenge is not to produce abundant food. I think we can do that. But the challenge is to find ways of achieving greater output per acre by working the land more intensively and use integrated and more sustainable production system and protecting the environment. The challenge is how to make cheaper food more widely available to those who need it. It is finding ways to promote technology advancements and to improve supply chain and information system to prevent post-harvest losses of food. Another thing that we do very well in the College of ACES, and I was listening to Laura and thinking about the fact that we still provide a tremendous pipeline of talent that you will be hiring, and it will be the next generation of innovators, hopefully, that will drive our economy. We have a series of programs that we have started just to look at the idea of innovation and entrepreneurship in the college. Among them, we launched a new degree, which is a combination of computer science and crop sciences. That's in the Department of Crop Sciences. And that will provide a talent that hopefully will drive a lot of these new technologies in the future. So with that, I want to welcome to this summit. I hope to see you interact. I'm looking forward to listening to a lot of the talks today. I hope you also have fun interacting with each other and trying to move this summit forward. Welcome, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Germán. And we're so excited about the new degree you mentioned with crop sciences and computer science. I think it's one of the reasons that we see this convergence of people here today, a university that has a long legacy of excellence in both, and seeing that we can teach a future population of students those things together is groundbreaking and the first of its type in the country. So congratulations to the University of Illinois for making that possible and hopefully providing a workforce that helps serve many of the companies in this room in their future. It's now my pleasure to welcome Lucas Frye, and he's somebody that I've had the pleasure of knowing for many years, I guess, at the University of Illinois community. First, I'll say near and dear to my heart as a student government official when he was elected to represent this student body, something I did when I was in school as well, but he served as student trustee in a leadership capacity that was recognized by his peers. He, in that capacity, talked about a new feed mill, I remember, with our governor at the time, and I was so impressed by his speaking skills, which I'm sure you will be today as well. He then took that history and success of being in ag economics and a leader on campus to pursue an MBA at this university and the College of Business. And it was in that time that he came up with a new technology and product idea. I think it's because he's a farm kid from Havana, Illinois, and has a long legacy of an Illinois family from Illinois, where the idea of invention and how you can succeed in business has been part of their whole, I think, context of the family. So seeing them as a successful Illini product of the University of Illinois has been celebrated by many. But it was in particular impressive that Lucas was able to work with other students on campus to take a technology and a product and see how it would work in the agriculture industry, how he could really do something transformative, and then leave his comfort zone and even go to Asia to be able to work on the product development at an accelerator program and come back to the state of Illinois to be able to build that product for the future, raise venture capital, and become one of our stars that all of us are really proud to recognize. So please join me in welcoming Lucas as our featured speaker today, and hopefully a great example of what the future of agriculture holds. So thank you, Lucas, for coming back to join us.
Thank you, Laura, for that very kind introduction. And I think, to start, I'm going to kind of bookend with paying homage to this place, the University of Illinois. Our company, really quick, Amber Agriculture, we're focused on introducing IoT and sensing analytics for farmers and also the supply chain. And our story, I always say, is it's uniquely Illinois that we launched here in Champaign out of the University of Illinois. And when we were going through our initial company building steps, we spent time in Shenzhen, China. We spent time in Silicon Valley. We're now based in Chicago, Illinois. But it was just fantastic to pull up LinkedIn and see new companies launching down here at Research Park, to see the ag community grow around Research Park. They can really take advantage of connecting the resources that are on campus, bringing students into the field while they're doing their studies, working on some of these new ideas, these new innovations within companies. It's just been really fascinating to watch, and I think that's a testament to Laura's leadership and all the folks who are working really hard to build this ecosystem and build the community here. Now, when I say our story is uniquely Illinois, I want to put some power behind that it's not uniquely ours. And I think as we start today, and since I have the kickoff spot, I'm going to do my own kind of expectation setting for today. Because I think the entire idea of us being together and gathering as students, as folks on faculty, working with big companies, is that we need more activity. We need more ideas. We need more people stepping in to do early stage enterprise development. And I don't think there's a better campus with a stronger College of Engineering, a stronger College of Agriculture, that we've got this big opportunity to create more activity. So in the world of the AgTech ecosystem, there's a lot of ideas out there, and farmers are being presented with a lot of new technology. But I actually think we need more, and we need more folks specifically, coming out of the University of Illinois, out of the state of Illinois, rather than the MITs and the Stanfords of the world. So as we start today, I think the grand challenge is that you have to recognize as a faculty member, as a student on this campus, you have the huge advantage of being around folks every day from multiple different disciplines and backgrounds, to have this opportunity to try something new and pursue something early stage. If you are with a bigger ag company, you've got this supreme advantage of seeing the inner workings of what's happening within that company and what ideas they're looking at, or what ideas maybe they're not looking at. You have the inside scoop to potentially venture out and do some early stage new idea generation yourself. If you're a farmer, you see all of the inside problems inside your operation, but you also see the problems of all these new technologies approaching your farm and how they could be better. You have this great advantage to potentially be engaged with some of these new ideas, potentially do that yourself. So I think, this is, the goal of talking about new ideas, new innovation in an ecosystem like this, that early stage technology development is great for the individuals, it's great for the groups that engage in it, it's great for the communities where these companies are built, it's great for the state, and it's a very, very, very American thing to work on new ideas, bring products to market, figure out the models, and if you splash new idea generation with agriculture, it might be the most American thing. Thomas Jefferson would be proud of the discussion here today, and it may sound like we're really, really, really up in the clouds with all of this talk of new ideas, what it means for the economy, what it means for our country, but I'm going to stay in the clouds for most of the talk today. And I think it's really important, specifically what I hope to address are some of these moonshot ideas that are existing in the space, how they might impact our world of row crop production, and if you are to think about potentially doing early stage enterprise development, some of the themes that I think are consistent across these moonshot companies. But first, I have a confession to make. I eat green peas for breakfast. Sometimes green beans, but the way I figure, if I don't touch another vegetable the rest of the day, I've checked that box, right? Now, I didn't always eat breakfast, actually. When I was based in the Valley, we've built our company alongside another company building technology for the manufacturing space, and one of the co-founders of that was chugging this stuff. Has anybody ever heard of Soylent? Has anybody ever tried Soylent? I saw him drinking it, and he was literally downing it like it was the most delicious milkshake he'd ever tasted. I was like, all right, I'll try it. I wanted to give it a try because it's basically the product we produce. It's liquid soybeans. And I would say it tastes like pancake batter. But it is a soybean product, and it's taking off like crazy. It's a complete meal supplement in a bottle. So every once in a while, for breakfast, I'll still dabble with a Soylent. Moving on to lunch, pretty simple. We got tuna and black beans. Tuna in particular, this can is the only one that has the crack pop opening, and it's about a 6 to 8 ounce serving. The rest are too big or don't have that pop opening. It's not that I don't like can openers. I'm actually semi-passionate about them. It's just I don't know whether I'm going to have a can opener near me if this is at the office. That was the decision point there. Black beans are actually a great source of protein. With our kind of product idea, was speaking to one of the largest pinto and black bean producers in the U.S., and he just rambled about how much protein there are in black beans. So I was like, all right, I'll start eating that for lunch maybe. It's quick and easy, and it's the decision point here is the tuna and the black beans are in the exact same aisle. So now I've been to the frozen vegetable section, I got the peas, then I go to one more aisle over and we get the lunch with tuna and black beans. Moving on to the afternoon and RX Bar. Have we heard of RX Bar? A Chicago-based company, two bros in a basement started making a nutritional bar that grew like crazy, and then Kellogg's just purchased them for $600 million last fall. Really great tasting protein bar, and it's a local story for maybe why I started eating that as an afternoon snack. And then in the evening, these protein blends by Bird's Eye Seed. Has anybody ever had that? Okay, the choice there is it's in the same freezer aisle as the peas, so all I gotta do is go one more over, grab that, can heat this up in 5 minutes, and it's a quick, convenient meal for dinner. Alcoholic choices, drink wine every once in a while. For some reason, I tend to more than not grab this bottle. It's Frye Brothers. My last name is Frye. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. My oldest brother, Landon, I think is here. He works for Granular, an AgTech startup. Our middle brother, Logan, works for a farm management firm in Decatur, and he's the farm operator of the 3 of us. For whatever reason, that's why I would potentially grab that bottle off the wine rack at the grocery store. And then all of these things, all of these items are convenient in the fact that I could pull up Amazon Prime, create that shopping cart, they're all there. Or if I'm in Champaign and we do Walmart pickup, they're also on that. So I wouldn't even have to step into the 2 or 3 aisles to get those products to grab my meals for the week. Now, I'm actually not that health conscious of an individual. It's more about convenience, making it quick, and not knowing whether I'd be in Chicago or Champaign from day to day. And it's also, you could eat a Au Cheval burger, one of Chicago's best burger spots, on the weekend and not worry about packing on too many pounds. Oof, a lot happened there. So the point of all of this is that, one, I guess I realized that I have some millennial tendencies. Been fighting it all of my life, but I also think that this is good, kind of laying the groundwork for what are also the trends that we can pull out of some of these moonshot plays that are happening in food and ag. Almost everything I shared when looking at my own purchasing decisions, there's some sort of tidbit story tied to it. I grabbed this product because I tried it, because I heard it from a friend. There's a story that kind of resonated within that purchase decision. Most of those products were pretty nutrient focused. Proteins was a consistent theme in all of those food selections. And then convenience. The Amazon Prime app, the growth of that, making quick 5-minute meals. All themes that are not just exclusive to what we could probably all recognize a little bit within our purchasing decisions, but it's also the major themes with these new AgTech plays that I think are going to be the most impactful in the next decade of AgTech development. So that is what I hope to touch on for the rest of the talk today. Specifically, I think the 3 big ones are alternative meat, vertical farming, and gene editing. So there you go. We could all leave. We know what they are, but I'd much rather you stay, and we'll step through how specifically these themes are in each. And this isn't new. I think this is what we all recognize. We should be reading about it almost every other day in the paper. But as these business models become more validated over time and as they enter the market and the story gets shared, I think it will be extremely prevalent, and we need to talk about what impact, if any, there will be on the row crop world that most of us play in. And 2, is there learnings that we can apply from the way they're launching these products and thinking about these ideas? Is there something we can learn from them that we should be applying as we think about new early stage enterprise development? Aside from those 3 themes, I think it's also very present that the conversation on definitions and labeling will only intensify in the coming years. I don't pick this particular tuna because it's dolphin safe, turtle safe, long lines FADs. I'm not label conscious, but I think what I'm mainly trying to say is with these new technologies, the war of words is just going to keep heating up. And regardless of your thoughts on labels or what the right solution might be, there's going to be some continued conversations that we as row crop producers, that folks serving the food consumer market, those conversations are going to have to continue taking place for how these will exist in the market. So to start off, alternative meat. Has anybody had the Impossible Burger? Have we heard of the Impossible Burger? So it's one of the first hamburgers on the market that falls under this alternative meat category. It is plant-based, but the entire conversation is that it is not a veggie burger, it is meat, and it is a hamburger. And the topic will be, do some of these new products fall under the meat category? Are we going to see it on the meat shelves? Are we going to pick up a hamburger and be able to know whether it came from a cow or whether it came from some of these new ideas that are being built. In the alternative meat space, and another theme consistent in the others, is the founders starting with this one simple question: what if we just started over? So if we rebuilt the entire food system again, would we do it the same way we're doing it today? And there's a couple different companies we can step through, but very consistent in the messaging across those founders. They all start with that question. If we started over today, we wouldn't have feedlots, we wouldn't have animal slaughter. That's kind of the question. The theme tied to that too is also kind of this impassioned, mission-driven aspect of company building. They do believe that animal agriculture is the greatest evil that the world faces. That's another theme, pretty consistent within some of the alternative meat plays. And this isn't trying to message or pin any story. This is a lot of the founding stories. This is in their slide presentation. So it is a question that will be asked: is this type of product brought to market? But there's two sides to the story too in alternative meat. So we have plant-based meat that would use peas or lentils to produce a new meat product without the animal. The second would be lab-based meat that starts with a stem cell, grows with bacteria, and they produce that kind of from scratch. Both, again, all focused on not using the animal. In the story that they hope to share is that, let's just go to the charts. And it's about greenhouse gas emissions, land use, water use. And they're really, really, really excited to share, once they hit the meat aisles and they're on the shelf, that this is the story. And this is what they want to tell the consumer. So if anything, it's just going to raise questions on what is the story, what is the message that the livestock industry is going to have, because they're excited to bundle this within their product as it gets brought to market. So the internal story of why they're building their product and what their external story for how they bring the product to market and what they share with the consumer is matched. So that's the story theme. The second is nutrients. Most of them are starting with the hamburger because it's the popular first kind of food product to introduce. And I had the Impossible Burger at Kuma's up in Chicago. I ate it. It tastes kind of like rubber tar chips. But I'm going to be nice. It was actually like good tasting rubber tar chips. And I think it has a great chance to get better. And I would just make a point too. Our grain sensors that we're building probably didn't taste good the first time a farmer used it either. We've got this validation. There's quirks to work out for sure within any product. But starting with the hamburger, starting with that one food product, introducing it in urban areas within restaurants first, everything is nutrient focused. So the next step is we can also build food better if we know all we have to worry about is taste and cost. And they're very, very, very confident companies building in this space. We've got the plant-based folks on the left. We've got the Petri dish folks on the right. All very similar story too. If I can get you to like the taste of the product, I know I can make it more nutritious. They're starting with the hamburger, but they think the pipeline for the next products they are going to build is full. Their intention is to create whole new food categories, foods that we've never even tasted before, that we wouldn't even conceptualize today. So they're engineering everything around nutrients and taste, and very confident that they can build that future. And then the convenience story is kind of being able to produce that at a very high level with low resources, kind of the charts that we shared earlier, but also the convenience of eating the chicken with the chicken sitting right next to you. The messaging on clean meat is the messaging of choice. They went through a couple different use cases, A/B split tests, the naming. Clean meat was the one that rose. But a lot of the marketing around these products will be interesting. One of them is meat without the slaughter. So again, this is what messages are going to be introduced to consumers that our friends and folks in the room in the livestock industry. There's going to be a conversation regardless of what side, if there is a side to be on, which side you're on. We've already seen in the last couple of weeks, the livestock industry is asking the USDA to look into labeling around what is meat. So that is the new conversation that will be in the next decade. Tied with all three of these things, convenience, nutrients, and story, is the ability for these companies to control it from end to end, from the creation of the product to getting it on the shelves, to being the brand that's on the shelf, to message exactly what they want to message, right? That type of end-to-end control is very, very, very powerful. If you're a livestock producer, you can't necessarily control all of the brand around your product. You're not a consumer-facing brand. Many, some do go direct to market. But that is kind of the alternative meat conversation that could definitely shift the landscape in the next 5 to 10 years. A good comparison would be synthetic milk has been on the market for a while. 5-10 years is now at 5 to 10% market share. So very significant, should be taken very seriously. The second big play in the food and ag system is vertical farming. Not your urban garden. These companies are really exciting to watch to produce fruits and vegetables in a very efficient manner without using land, dirt, or soil. And kind of the prevalent theme here is nutrients, again, probably more prevalent than story or convenience, is the way we produce food in the past was based on shipping and making the product last so it could be transported for miles and miles. And I'll also say the slides, when talking about these companies, it's their slides, not mine. So kind of just pulling directly from their presentations. So this nutrient factor, if we can control the entire environment, control the lighting, control its growth metrics, analyze it with thousands and thousands of sensors and know every step to the process, we're going to learn really, really quick what produces a great tasting tomato, what produces a better tasting lettuce. We can get feedback from the chefs that are using it. What would they like to see? Re-engineer the entire product because they can control every aspect of it using IoT and sensors, AI and machine learning. Really quick repetitions around producing the product within the vertical farms. Really exciting play. This is the one company I'm excited about in particular, Plenty Agriculture. The story started like this. They had technology. They had this LED lighting. And they're doing a model different than their vertical farm competitors that are doing it flat, more horizontal. They grow the fruits and vegetables like ivy, and they shoot the lights at it. So they had this technology developed, and I've spoken with Dr. Story on the right and another co-founder about their kind of initial build out. And they had the tech, and they were going to take it to greenhouses, and they were going to take it to smaller farmers and sell their product, this more efficient lighting, to produce better fruits and vegetables, go to market that route. And then they stopped cold turkey. They're like, no, this isn't the way to do it. We've got to think bigger. The only way to use this and bring the model and make a big play is to control it all ourselves. Do very similar to the alternative meat, the end-to-end control of building the product, leveraging the latest technology. So this is really exciting. The last 5 to 10 years, the big struggle with vertical farming has been running out of money, running out of resources before validating the model. These guys took care of that too. They raised $200 million out of the SoftBank Vision Fund. So their intent in the next 5 years is to build one of these big vertical farms in the first 100 urban and metropolitan areas. It will be really exciting to watch, to see whether the model can get validated. Again, the story is no pesticides, no fertilizers. We can get 16 crop seasons in 1 calendar year within their indoor farm. And they can do the same production in an entire stadium within the space of a soccer net. 16 crop years in one season, one year. All focused on nutrient output, controlling end to end. They too will be able to have the brand on the store shelf, and their brand is going to be very similar to the messaging, wanting to show the 3 charts on land use, on water use, on chemical and fertilizer application. They've got the entire story, they know it, they can share it, they want to share those graphs, and because they're engineering the food and controlling all end to end from scratch, their feedback loops and their ability to improve will be very interesting to watch. Last spot, gene editing, probably the one closest to home to the space that we're working in the row crop from day to day. Gene editing, I think, will be very interesting to see, again, primarily starting with nutrients. For my own synopsis of it, the last 5, 10, 15 years of genetic technology for corn and soybeans has been focused on increasing yield and the growing season, around decreasing the susceptibilities of crops to get hurt in the field. The next wave of genetic technology will be focused on end use, end value traits and nutrients, creating higher fiber wheat, creating higher oil content soybeans, and probably a number of other different opportunities that I don't know about, that are all about making a better product, a more nutrient-focused corn, soybean, and commodity for the end customer, the food companies. All potentially with a quicker timeline, I think, is the story around the technology and the convenience that comes with that. Calyxt is the one I'm pulling slides from. They have soybeans in bins, I think, in the Dakotas today. So the crop hit the market, and the gene-edited products are out there. The conversations that will obviously ensue is, how is this different than GMO? Is it the same as GMO? Europe's going to have to redecide what their position is, as are other markets. How will we have that conversation? How will we present the story in the space? What questions will farmers have to answer around using gene-edited products within their fields in comparison to GMO? Kind of tied to this within the row crop space is the ability to develop these type of technologies external of the traditional R&D units within some of the larger ag companies. I see maybe every other month a group I'm associated with out in the valley of different scientists that are building companies that have a unique product for the commodity space and wanting to get connected to farmers to do these first trials. And I think the struggle has always been, can that type of company be developed outside of the bigger agricultural ecosystem? When I was in SF, there was a speaker at one of our kind of small group sessions. He had sold his company for a couple $100 million to one of the search engines. And he was talking about his next steps. And a pretty typical process after having an exit is to go straight back to the whiteboard. And he was sharing he got to 3 different ideas for his next company. And one of them was in agriculture. So again, non-ag background, it had an exit within the software space, loved the company building process, dived right back into it. He did not choose the agriculture idea of all the ones that he whiteboarded. So after the visit, after he was done talking, I go up to him and I was like, hey, I would love to know what you were going to work on in the ag space. Let's meet. Would love to hear about it. So a couple weeks later, we're visiting, and he shares, I just really wanted to go after the seed industry. Again, non-farm background, did not grow up on a farm. He's like, it bugs me that, I'm sure he had watched some of the documentaries, and to bring essentially an opportunity to desegment the seed industry again. He got so much into the idea and went past just whiteboarding around it that he started growing corn in his backyard in San Mateo. So he was growing corn, he was learning all about it. He was talking to a lot of folks at the land-grant universities who were growing these trait technologies and trying to figure out a way if we could bring some of these traits out of academia and do kind of like an open source seed business. So he's sharing all this excitement, how he was growing corn in his backyard, and then he's like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't embark on that idea for my next company because I don't think the distribution channels can be hacked. I think it'd be really, really, really tough to reach the farmer outside of the existing channels that I couldn't pull the trigger on it. And I think that is a telling story that I think is going to be similar with a lot of new companies working in gene editing around agriculture, would be how does the farmer take that risk in trying something with a new founder, a new company that might give them a hat with a logo on it that they haven't seen before? Is that possible to introduce new product outside of these existing channels? And I think with Calyx in particular, the convenience story of how can we reach farmers, how can we reach the market and not drive ourselves crazy is that they're partnering with Farmers Business Network. And I think that's kind of another new interesting play of in the ag tech world of a distribution channel that's been created, that a play where some of these new technologies can partner with folks who have gotten in front of a lot of farmers really quick and being able to introduce the tech to farmers in a scalable way. So that's also something that I think is worth watching as these products come to market, how they will potentially partner outside of the existing channels that we've come to know well the last 10, 20 years. Those are the three themes: alternative meat, vertical farming, gene editing. I think they all share those themes of having a story, an internal story with the efficiency of the technology that can be leveraged as a brand in the marketplace. Everything's focused on nutrients, right? The next 5 to 10 years is all on building better product. And I think gene editing in particular is going to be a little bit of a leading charge around we're growing nutrients rather than bushels. And there will be, I think, some pretty fascinating opportunities for farmers to grab new premium opportunities around that nutrient story. But would there ever be kind of one of these moonshot ideas like alternative meats, like vertical farming, to integrate that end-to-end control story within the row crop world? I think this is just kind of sideways fascinating. David Friedberg, do we recognize that name? Founder of Climate Corp, created the Climate Corp team, kind of stemming from Google experience with other friends, built an interesting product, Monsanto, integrated in as their kind of digital ag offering. When David Friedberg stepped away from climate, he's building a lot of cool companies, One is this company called ITSA. And the story is almost kind of this end-to-end offering of taking a commodity like quinoa and growing it, owning the quinoa farms, being involved in that production process, but also owning the restaurant that the quinoa goes directly into. And that's what ITSA is, very focused on nutrients, these fast food restaurant meals that we can build around the quinoa nutrient profile, the convenience of owning the farm, building the product, building the dish, and creating the end customer restaurant. So ITSA is also kind of this automated fast food restaurant. There's not a kitchen. You just go up and order. Maybe you placed it on the app. You get your bowl or dish, and they have maybe 5 or 10 of these locations, San Francisco, New York. I think they are struggling a little bit with the model in the sense that they closed their New York offices. But it's kind of an interesting use case of that first attempt of doing an end-to-end story around one commodity crop, building the food product, and being the brand to the end consumer. So there might be more of those ideas that we see in the next 5 to 10 years in the commodity space. Again, kind of the themes to wrap up here. If we directly apply these themes within what we know the row crop world as it exists today, really is a row crop farmer, the one who carries your story is the one who carries the crop, the ingredient to the end consumer. The grain companies have traditionally had that responsibility. Maybe our trade associations, the commodity groups around each crop, advocating and promoting that crop internationally. Nutrients, that really all is focused on the products farmers can grow and bringing these nutrient-enabled genetic technologies to create end value traits on the end product. The seed companies have had that. I think the farm adoption with some of these new crops has always been, is the premium there to make that risk to start growing them. And I think that's kind of the connecting opportunity between the nutrient and the story is some of the premiums that can be passed back to the farmer around these end value traits, end value pricing, and potentially sharing data alongside the ingredient as that product's brought to market. Convenience, the connected world, the hardware makers of the past have always been our tractor and equipment companies. Will that be the case going forward around the efficiencies of automating certain things and making farming easier for the farmer? So in grain farming, we always have this 40 to 50 major decisions that crosses a farmer's mind in the typical growing season. Just to introduce Amber at a pretty high level, I'm really interested in this post-harvest space and the major decisions they make around grain management, around storing that crop, around the trading decisions that exist in the post-harvest ecosystem. So our kind of core technology and interest is we're using sensing and analytics to help market, protect, and manage grain more efficiently. And our greatest fascination is that the entire post-harvest ag value chain is based on moisture and information. And the first really isn't being optimized for in any sense. And the information that can be shared both historically and in real time, I think can lead to some great efficiencies. And we've been playing around with experimenting with the technology and validating different business models in different application areas. The core tech are these tiny wireless sensors that can capture all of the key quality information and kind of go alongside the crop and flow throughout the post-harvest system. our first use case application has been just laser focused on that one initial process of grain storage, grain management on farm, introducing it within farmers' grain storage, trying to optimize around moisture because that's what their price is based on when they deliver it to market, but also doing spoilage detection and doing the aeration control of getting as much of that grain volume to the right level that there wouldn't be any experience of a dock. Kind of our next steps is we're playing around with commercial applications, anything from big grain companies, commercial storage, to capturing information in between when the transaction and the ownership would change hands between a particular player, either in a ship or otherwise. So in our company building step, we've got this on-farm use case that we're really excited about, and we're still stepping through different applications of the technology. As I mentioned earlier, we're based in Chicago. Our team has kind of grown all centered around the Illini ecosystem. Our first hire was an Illini. Our second hire came to us from another Illini founder, and we're hiring. So I'll do a selfish plug to end that we're looking to grow our team on the full stack software engineering side. I started with, I wanted to pay homage to the University of Illinois. And in particular, kind of when we think about these conversations of new ideas and potentially things coming to market that lead to really tough conversations, where some might be speaking more positively about a particular spot of production ag, some might be talking more negatively when introducing new products into the market. And I would say that this is not a new thing. We've always had kind of a good story to push the agenda on an idea, and a kind of negative or bad approach. One of my favorite founding stories of all time, and a few in the room might know I've shared it a couple other times, is the founding of the University of Illinois. Jonathan Baldwin Turner here on the left was a graduate of Yale, came from the East Coast to Illinois, started at Illinois College, and he had this wild idea that we needed a new type of education, one that was focused on the farmer, of creating an industrial workforce, that if we enabled the farmer with education, we could push the bounds of our production, that we could take advantage of our fertile soil as a state. But as other two pieces for why we needed this industrial education, one was near and dear to my heart, was around the issue of post-harvest loss. That we have crops spoiling out in the countryside. That's a key issue that we need more education and training around. And the third was we need to be sharing information across states, across these institutions, learn from each other from growing season to growing season. So he's got this new idea of a land-grant university focused on the farmer. Only problem was farmers actually weren't calling for it, right? This wasn't a problem necessarily that the farmer thought they needed. Could you imagine somebody running around the countryside saying, hey, you can learn more if we send you to an institution than you could if you hung around the farm operation and just stayed in your own area learning from those around you. So he kind of created this entire grassroots movement by himself. He started speaking at conferences, the Illinois State Fair. He started conferences, farm conventions, talking about this idea on bringing education for farmers and new institutions to market. Went all across the Midwest too, for 14 years sharing this idea. Not much happened with it. In 1860s, the individual on the left, Justin Morrill, starts speaking about the same idea on the floor of Congress, and he positions it as such. The farmers in the Midwest are burning the topsoil and tearing up the environment let's pass this institution for public education and start land-grant universities to educate the farmer. Different messaging, but here we are today. Both of these individuals were very key to the passing of the Moral Act that Lincoln signed for why we have institutions like the University of Illinois today. So this multiple messaging has always existed in the marketplace around new ideas. And I think just as long as we know the messaging that will be taking place alongside these new technologies, alongside the new trends in ag, I think that's a first step. The second would be how we started too, that this is a really phenomenal, special place, an ecosystem really like any other, that even in the land-grant space, our friends from Purdue and Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, I don't think have the opportunity that we have here. We have phenomenal individuals in the room today. We have lots of new, exciting technologies all across the board, and we have really interesting market failures, market problems that need to be addressed with those technologies. And I think there's no better folks than the people who are in the room today, and we need more of it. We need more folks taking the step to do early stage enterprise development, sharing and building on some of these moonshot whiteboard ideas from this ecosystem in the middle, because it's going to happen and it's taking place on the coast. So I will leave you with that. There's a lot more to talk about with these technologies, these ideas, what we're building with Amber Agriculture, and happy to talk more about that after this session, after the conference. But for now, that'll do. Thank you.